Hi, my darlings. I'm Sophie Darling, and welcome to my first reaction to part one and part two of Lost Girls. I was recommended to watch these two prior to season three, and then part three, Lost Girls, I was told to watch after season three and before season four. So, my channel at the minute is pretty much catching up on the OVAs. So, we had no regrets before this, part one and part two, which absolutely destroyed me emotionally. And I kind of had a feeling that was going to be the case. And now we have Lost Girls Part 1 and Part 2, and I'm really excited to see this because I actually don't know what this is about. Based on the screenshot that I'm seeing on Crunchyroll, I'm going to presume it's about Annie. So I'm interested as to how this is going to go, if it's going to give us a bit more information into Annie's time in the military police when the rest were in the survey corps, if it gives us more insight into why she is targeting Erin, why the others are targeting Erin, if it maybe just gives us a little bit more contextual information, because we didn't get a whole lot about Annie in season one. We got a little bit of flashbacks to her and her dad training, and then her dad incessantly apologizing to her and then saying, even if the whole world hates you, just know that your dad stands behind you. And now she's sealed in that cocoon, and I don't think she'll be in that cocoon forever, but we kind of haven't seen any more of Annie since then. Season 2 hasn't really delved into her. I think season 2 was within like a 3-day span between Annie sealing herself to Reiner and Bertolt revealing that they are the Armored and Colossal Titan, Ymir also revealing that she has the ability to shift, and then Eren getting kidnapped, Eren getting recaptured. I think it's like a 48-hour period. It's very fast in how everything progresses. So it could be like 2 days or it could be like a week, but I think if I had to put my finger on it, it's probably like 2 to 3 days. All of this is taking place, which is wild. Time in the show confuses me so much. But without further ado, let's get into Lost Girls Part 1 and Part 2. Oh, they had to. Oh, for fuck's sake. I'm already pausing because why? They had to emotionally damage me within 2 seconds of this starting. Marco, my poor boy. That's how she ended up with the ODM gear. And we kind of got flashbacks of Marco and their involvement in Marco's death in season 2. And now we're learning how Annie actually got Marco's ODM gear, which is she took it off him. And it looks as if he doesn't understand what's going on. So my theory was that he maybe knew something and he maybe confronted them on something, and they realized they had to get rid of him because he would have told everybody and blown their cover. But now I'm like, is it just as simple as they needed his ODM gear? But then surely they could have just stolen gear from anybody else. Why did they need Marcos? And that's what's making me think that there's more to it. He knows something and they had to silence him and get rid of him. But just, oh, Annie. Annie, please. I don't know if I can forgive Annie. I feel like she'll be humanized, but I don't think I can forgive her because Marco was my boy. My sweet baby.
なさなければならないことは何があろうとなさなければならない。そのためには多くの血が流される。
That's why she was incessantly apologizing to
分
him
かってるよ。そんなこと。
because of the guilt that she felt over Marco dying.
明日も同じ。使命のためには誰かの血でこの手を染めなきゃならない。明日の任務第57回壁外調査にて
Okay.
エレン・イェーガーの捕獲。
So this is giving more insight into like Annie prior to her. I don't know what intro that is, so I'm not even daring to watch it. But obviously, this is giving insight into her motives for going after Erin. So it's going to give us a bit more, maybe humanization of Annie.
Nani 読んでんのよ。ん何何よう兄、憲兵団はどうだ。
Is it from
こっち
Rhino
は
or
壁画
Bertold?
調査を控えて訓練の真っ最中だ。
とにかく
Rhino.
長距離索敵陣形とやらを覚えるのが大変でな。こんなことなら俺も憲兵団に入っとくんだった。エレンは別の班だから最近やってないが。
絶望的につまんない手紙ね。
Boring to you, but not to her.
っていうかあんた、せっかくの非番なのにまた兵服なんか着てんの？そんなんじゃモテないよって教えてあげたじゃん。あんた愛想ないんだからさ、おしゃれくらいしなきゃ。
She's folding it up because there'll be a message hidden between words. And when she folds it a certain way, it'll reveal what she needs to know.
なんで？ちょっとした野暮用があってね。あのさ、非番って野暮用を済ませるためにあるわけだよね。今日済ませなよ。向こうにも都合ってものがあってね。
Okay.
一つ貸しね。
So she did this on her free time, right?
家出しちゃったんだって、その人。それで5日くらい前かな。お前探してこいって先輩に押し付けられちゃってさ。ほんとやってらんないよね。
I mean, as in, she attacked Erin on her free time, which makes sense because it would have been noticed if she was missing from the military police when she was supposed to be on duty.
まあいいや。それで私ってこう見えて結構忘れっぽくってさ、忘れないうちに返してほしいんだよね。さっきの貸し。
Was that poster of the Lost Girl? So is that then what this next few episodes are going to be about these girls that have gone missing?
何かをしていないと、つい明日のことを考えてしまって気がめいる。だから今は少しだけ兵士ごっこに興じてみるとしよう。アニー、例の件よろしくね。
I can't help but like her. I don't know why. There's just something about her that's quite like endearing.
憲兵支部のアニ・レオンハート様をお連れしました。
どうせ手がかりの一つくらいは見つけたんだろうな。
申し訳ありませんが。
なるほど。私は働きすぎらしい。あんたの言っとることがさっぱりわからん。娘の捜索願いを出してからすでに10日経つ。しかし捜査中だったはずのあんたは。
She only just started today. Like, damn, give her a minute.
つまりあんたはそれだけ無能ということか。
そう考えていただいて結構です。
違うな。
He doesn't seem overly concerned about his daughter being missing. I'm not gonna lie. He just kind of seems really like blasé about it.
おっしゃる通りです。二人の人間を経由し、今朝私のところへ。
だが問題がある。民間業者は詐欺師の集まりだ。金を踏んだくることばかりに頭を使うな。そして私は自分の目を信じておる。人間を見る目だ。あんたはひよっこだが、信頼に値する人間だと私の目は言う。
I wonder if the more she looks for this girl, the more she begins to sort of reminisce about her own interaction with her dad. Because father looking for missing daughter and then her situation of like father-daughter relationship that we saw in series 1, wondering if that's what's going to happen. Maybe.
を出した2日前のことだ。その日の夕食に娘は姿を現さんかった。そんなことはこれまでに一度もなかった。私と娘はどれだけ忙しくても 夕食だけは必ず一緒にとっておったからな。それさえ守ればお互いに干渉しない。それが我々の間のルールだった。
娘さんの交友関係やよく立ち寄る場所などご存知ですか？
知らん。
娘さんは普段何
He
をされて
doesn't
いたので
know.
すか？
知らん。
娘さんが普段何をしているのかご存知ないということでしょうか？
そうだ。娘は3
Busy.
年前にアインリッヒ大学校を出て以来何もしとらん。
専攻は？
化学だ。さっきも言ったが、我々はお互いに一切干渉せんことにしとる。
That's such a sad father-daughter relationship. How can you not care about what your daughter does? As a father, I don't understand that. It's disgusting.
娘さんとの関係は良好
Some
でした
people should not be parents.
娘が何を考えておったのか、私にはまるでわからんよ。
娘が何を考えているかわかる父親などいないでしょう。
He doesn't understand what she's thinking. He just straight up doesn't care. There's going to be some like weird secret dealings going on, isn't there? In the interior that Annie's going to start like catching on to.
何かわかればまた伺います。
よろしく頼む。
あんたは私が嘘をついていることがわかってるんだろう。その通り。でもあんただって
Yeah.
何かを隠している。
すぐに出かける。馬車を。
And he's burning it, so he's hiding something. So what are you up to? A city at the eastern part of Walsena, well, there's a wealthy neighborhood there. In the back streets are bars and such where manual laborers gather, which results in a disorderly atmosphere. Also, there were once plans to build an underground city, but for some reason it came to a standstill, and some of its subterranean passages still remain today, which is where Annie was being lured into in season 1, episode 23, when they were trying to make sure that she couldn't transform, but she caught onto their game before they could do it.
要約すると、マルレーン商会はウォールマリアで仕入れた商品をウォールシーナの小売業者に卸して、その利ザヤで利益を上げていたわけだ。
紹介としては典型的な営業形態だね。
ああ、しかし845年にウォールマリアが壊されたことで大幅に事業を縮小し、残ったのは馬車による乗客の輸送業のみとある。
なるほど。助かったよ。あんたも仕事を押し付けられたの？
I wonder if they're doing some like black market dealings to make up for the loss of income then.
目録がないなんて考えられないからな。
マルレーン商会は落ち目だ。しかしストラットマンは豪勢な暮らしを維持している。さらにカーリー・ストラットマン、家業が落ち目なのに手伝うどころか働きさえしていない。そして父親はそのことを気に
Maybe because he's doing something so
いや、
dark that even his own daughter doesn't want to like be involved.
十分奇妙か。
辛いか兄。しかし全ては使命を果たすためだ。使命を果たすことがお前がこの世に生を受けた意味だ。
Wow.
絶対服従。
Brutal.
私と父親の間にはその言葉しか存在しなかった。
So that was one of the things I brought up in season 2 when I talked about Bertold and saying, did you really think that we wanted to do this? And when he mentioned that them being a soldier was like the only time that they felt reprieve. And I made the comment of, that indicates that where they come from is a particularly very harsh environment where there's no room for mistake, there's no room for weakness. And I think that's what's going to probably start to humanize us to these characters, is that we see how brutal their background was, how they were raised, and how that formulates their thoughts and opinions regarding humanity. Because you're a product of your environment. You're a product of the people around you and your experiences. You can't really judge children for mimicking the model that adults within their society have set. And that's what I think is happening here. It is a very good indication of how the children of humans are raised to hate Titans or to hate anyone associated with Titans because they've been taught that fear. It's been ingrained into them. And likewise, we're probably going to see that with Annie and Reiner and Bertold, how they were brought up to also hate humanity, how they were socialized into thinking that humanity is bad, all humanity is bad, that the only good thing is a dead human. And I'm really excited if this plays out the way that I think it's going to, which is showing the parallels of war in terms of the similarities, but also the ways in which people struggle to come together because they see their differences as so polarizing that they ignore how alike they actually are, and how this leads to conflict, and just how sad and tragic that war actually truly is. I think that maybe where the story kind of leads into is that we're seeing children from two parallel backgrounds who are able to connect, able to bond, able to find common ground with one another through interacting with each other, but at the same time have both been raised to hate the other based on the environment they've grown up in, and how war exacerbates perceived differences instead of similarities, instead of allowing people to find common ground. I I love this show so much.
我々はお互いに一切干渉せんことにしとる。たとえ娘がどれだけ遊び歩こ
In
うが
each other's
構いません。
affairs, so it kind of sounds like she's been up to something as well. That she's maybe been doing experiments or something. She majored in chemistry, so maybe she is doing like weird experiments. Or maybe she just doesn't want to be associated with her dad.
知ってるね。
知るかよ。それよか早くお家に帰ってパパに慰めてもらえ。
Don't you dare. You absolute creep. Fuck around and find out.
コーデロインだね。違法薬物の所持は禁錮3年から5年。ただし、
ふざけんじゃねえ。
I love seeing more of Annie. Because we see so little of her in season 1.
この娘について知っていることを聞かせてくれたら、私は何も見なかったことになる。
カーリーはこの店の常連だったんだ。小便ちびるくらい気前が良くてな。いつも俺たちに酒を振る舞ってくれた。
一緒にダンス踊ってくれたり、みんなカーリーが好きだった。
でも10日ぐらい前かな。突然すげえ剣幕で怒り出してな。みんなびっくりしてた。
その後急に黙り込んだと思ったら店を出てって。で、それ以来誰も見てねえ。
なぜ怒り出したの？
この間抜けのせいだ。カーリーの前でコデロインなんて飲んだから。
Is her dad selling
俺たちいつも他の役やってるけど、カーリーは特に何も言わなかった。
But is he selling that specific drug to people?
そんなの俺たちが聞きてえよ。
And that's why Carly got angry, because she doesn't want to be affiliated with what her dad is
家に
doing.
帰れなくなるよ。
待ってくれよ。
カーリーは何かやべえことやってると思ったからだ。あいつの親父は落ちぶれた。でもカーリーはたんまり金を持ってた。
Or maybe she's selling drugs.
やばい金なんだよありゃ。
So is she using her chemistry background to sell drugs to the back streets of the interior in order to support her dad and his decline in business? And is that why her dad's like, oh, I don't care if she gallivants, and he's kind of like purposely misleading somewhat? I don't know.
カーリーの恋人なら彼女が何をやってたのか知ってるんじゃないですか？
名前と住所は？
ケンパーボルツ、南アーヘン通りに住んでます。パンチまでは知りませんが。
俺だって今の今まで知らなかったんだよ。なんだよ。
邪魔したね。
I thought she was gonna like damage it even more, but no.
あんたはなんで知ってるの？
何をです？
カーリーとケンパーのこと。
長い間この仕事をやっているといろんな物事を知ることになります。
Oh, it senses something off about her. Stop showing me that. Marco.
戻るまで待っててもらえる。
あんた新米だな。ここがどんな場所か知らないのか。
Back
ストヘスクの
streets.
吐きだめでしょ。危険すぎて憲兵の巡回ルートから外された地区。
分かってるなら俺の答えも分かるだろ。
I think she can handle herself. She'll be fine. That's where she met Armin, wasn't it? It kind of looks similar to the other way where she met Armin.
なんだあんた。
ケンパー・ボルツという男を知ってる。区内で許可なく火を焚くことは禁止されてる。質問に答えてくれれば見逃してやってもいいけど。
面白い姉ちゃんだな。暑さで頭やられちまったのか。俺たちが涼しくしてやろうか。
Again, fuck around, find out, my dude.
ケンパー・ボルツという男を知ってる。
225番地だ。そこの3階の。
Drugs. But why was she angry at him for taking them?
コデロインか。
Maybe it's because she saw them as her friends and she knew that they were dangerous. And that's why she didn't want them taking it?
おい、うるせえぞ、何やってる。さっき言ったはずだぞ、静かにしろって。
くそ。
なんとか言え、謝れ。いつもみてえにヒーヒー謝るんだよ。しろ。そったらバカにしやがって。
The stench must be like foul. The stench must be absolutely honking. Ugh. Okay, I'm confused more than ever. So, like, her dad definitely knows something's going on. They've said that she majored in chemistry, which is given the implication that she will know how to make illicit drugs and illicit material, which is probably what she's doing, which she's then selling to supplement the loss of income that her family has experienced, which is why her dad is kind of like not really phased about what she does and where she comes and goes because like he's just happy that he can maintain his lifestyle. But obviously she's gone missing, so I'm wondering if it could be like a competitor has taken her out, or maybe she's just gone a bit delulu and she's killed her boyfriend. You can see Annie and the softening of Annie here in ways, and it's so subtle, but it just gives like a really good indication as to who she is as a person. Like resetting that man's arm, she didn't have to do that. Feeding the cat, again, she didn't have to do that. All of these are indications of somebody that genuinely does care about those around her, even if she doesn't initially show it. The fact that she is psychologically plagued by the memories of Marco shows that not only is she traumatized by what happened, she is also feeling the impact of guilt. So the guilt that she feels for being involved in his death and contributing to his death continue to plague her, even though she said at the beginning, blood needs to be shed and I have to be the one willing to do it. And that's all well and good, but you can see the psychological duress that this has put her under, especially when you have to remember that she is a literal child. How can a child really reconcile with what they're doing? How can they really come to terms with the death and destruction that being expected to do for a cause? And you see that with Bertold and Rainer and their psychological stress and just the trauma these poor children are going through or being forced to go through because of whoever is conducting this is just absolutely disgusting.
おい、開けろ、開きやがれ。開けろ、顔出せ。
入ってこられたら始末するしかない。まだ戦い。
Oh, so yeah, it wouldn't have smelt then if he's only died like a short while ago.
ケンパーボルツ。
So did Carly kill him?
この暑さだ。遺体が発見されるのは時間の問題。私は重要参考人として事情聴取され、明日の任務に行くのは不可能になる。これは上官に報告した場合でも同じ。却下だ。このまま身を隠し、明日の任務に行くか。いや、もし任務に失敗したら、もう憲兵団には戻ってこれない。そうなれば当然疑われ、最悪私の正体がバレて、あの二人まで危険にさらす。
Hang on, let me just scroll back a second. Should I just hide the body and do the mission? No, if the mission fails, I can't stay in the MP.
これも却下だ。
Basically, this weighing up, do I turn and eat him? No, she
見
can't.
つける。そうすれば私はここに来なかったことになる。すべて片付いた後、匿名でケンパーの死を通報する。
I'm so lost with this OVA. Like, so lost already.
休むな。そんなことで使命が果たせると思ってるのか。聞いているのか、兄。医者が言うには、父さんの足はもう元には戻らんとのことだ。
I don't blame her for kicking the shit out of him, though.
よくやったな、兄。お前はもっと強くなれる。
He was pushing her too hard. She's just a kid. The psychological demand is insane. Or was Kemper making the drugs and selling them and Carly killed him? Because it goes against what she believes in. Or was Carly kidnapped because she's making the drugs? And like she's the only one that could make it, so they're trying to corner the market by capturing her.
ケンパーの部屋にあったのは木箱3つ分。カーリーとケンパーが売人だったとして、どうやってあれだけの量を仕入れ
Because Carly's making it.
いずれにしても、まずはストラットマンだ。娘について隠していることを洗いざらい喋らせる。
That his daughter's making the drug, that she invented it. That's what I'm thinking.
待たせてね。ストラットマン家まで。
Bad idea.
僕があんたをここで殺す予定はない。
Oh!
下品な真似をさせないでくれ。
He's the one looking for Carly.
片方が義眼の男だ。瞳の部分が赤くてな。
私たちはどこへ向かってるの？
工業区だ。あそこのでかい廃液層には昔からいろんなものが沈んできた。
みんな沈んでドロドロに溶けちまう。
あんたの脳みそは沈んだことがあるみたいだね。
ああなめた口を聞くなよ、姉ちゃん。
You don't know who you're messing
下
with.
品な真似はするな。
つまり私はあんたたちを怒らせたわけだ。
怒っちゃいないさ。ただあんたが我々の仕事の邪魔をしてるってだけでね。ストラットマンから聞いたよ。あんたは一人で動いてるって。
あの時はね。でも今は上官に報告をあげてる。私に何かあれば憲兵団が。
He knows from her
君はケン
dad.
パー君の死体を見つけたはずだ。あれだけ長いしたわけだからね。
I'm so
しかし
confused.
業者に伝えた行き先はストラットマンの家で憲兵団ではなかった。なぜか上に報告できない理由があったからだ。俺の推測は間違ってるかな。
廃液層に沈む前にお願いがあるんだけど。
言ってみろ。
あんたの品のいいお仲間が取った指輪を返してもらえない？
そりゃ聞けねえな。
黙ってろルー。指輪？
故郷を出るときに父親からもらったものでね。せめてそれがあれば安らかに沈んでいける。
If not, she's gonna haunt the shit out of him. But we all know she's not gonna die anyway, but
渡せ
still.
そりゃねえぜ、ウォルド。
渡せ。俺にだ。
What do you know?
あ、すげえ。
毒でも仕込んであるのかな。
試してみれば。
いや、やめとこう。あんたは頭が切れる。本当に毒ならわざわざ挑発などしない。何か魂胆がない限りはな。
そんな挑発に乗る間抜けだと思ったのか。
ああ。間抜けだね。
Oh, you played a dangerous game, my dude.
カーリー・ストラットマンはどこにいるの？
あんたはまるで巨人だな。突然現れて全てを台無しにした。
Well, she's technically his.
カーリーを
Whoa, 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 what the fuck? Well, she's not gonna die. She's gonna regenerate, but like...
おい、立てるか兄貴。
なんとかな。
そいつはいけねえ。まだ寝てた方がいい。
What is going on? What? What is happening?
生きてるんでしょ。カーリーはどこにいるの？
バンゲルター通り197。
あんたたちは何者？
ただの便利屋だ。数日前、娘を探してくれってストラットマンに雇われた。俺たちはすぐにケンパーに行き着き締め上げた。奴はカーリーの居場所と秘密、どちらも教えるからある仕事を手伝ってくれと持ちかけてきた。
どんな仕事？
ゆすりだ。
Who?
娘の秘密を出しにストラットマンをゆすり、ついでに身代金も
Okay, so they were kind of like double-crossing Stratman and
娘を閉じ込め、
Carly in the
二日に金と
process.
交換するはずだった。それで足を洗うはずだったんだ。あとはほんの少し手を伸ばせばつかめたはずだったんだ。5年前もそうだった。あと一日、あれが遅ければ俺と息子はこの町にいた。
he lost his son, didn't he?
何かをつかみかけると邪魔が入る。手からこぼれ落ちる。
See, it's things like this that really kind of humanize Annie, because she didn't have to help him then. She didn't have to do that. So there is a softer side to her in a way.
父さん
Yeah.
帰ってき
So he lost his son during the first attack. Not dead.
殺せ！このアマ！
Oh, you fucked up big time. do it. Pull the trigger.
カーリーは
I
ここにい
would.
るの。私はここに来なかった。あんたにもウォルドにも会わなかった。わかった。もし後で私のことをちょっとでも喋ったことが分かった。
She's a better person than me. Because I would have shot him.
バン
Hands down.
終わったの？カーリー・ストラットマンさんですね。お父様がお待ちです。家に帰りましょう。その前に一杯付き合ってくれない？
A massive tank that holds liquid contaminants, Jesus. Produced by industrial processes, it holds 5,000 cubic meters, and when capacity is exceeded, waste is transferred to a filter tank where it's purified to safer levels. And also where they dispose of bodies.
あなたの秘密というのは何だったんです？
She makes drugs. I knew it!
あれはあなたが作ったんですか？案外簡単にできちゃうのよ。憲兵団に納品される鎮痛剤さえ手に入れば。ケンパーはただの売人よ。元締めはパパ。
And they're working with the military police, or the higher ups in the military
コ
police.
デロインはオートから流れ込んできた新手の薬物だと。でしょうね。私がコデロインを作った時、この町では売らないって約束させたから。しかしお父様は
And that's why she left. And that's why she got angry when she saw it in the bar.
コデロインを見て激怒した。ねえ、私を見つけられなかったことにしてくれない？
So she can live her own life.
なぜコデロインなんて作ったんです？パパは5年前に全てを失った。それを取り戻そうとしていたのよ。
So I called it without knowing that I called it.
カーリー、一緒に踊ろうぜ。
どうしようかな。ごめんねみんな。ここまでみたい。
She's gonna help her start a new life somewhere else, isn't she?
お待たせ。はいこれ。美味しいわよ。なんです？ドーナツ。初めて食べます。あとこれね。
That's so cute. I love Annie. I really do.
別にこの町を
Even though she's involved in Marco's death and it breaks my heart, but still.
そうできればいいんだけど、パパのそばにいたら助けてあげたくなっちゃうもの。お約束のウォールローゼへの通行許可証です。破ることもできますよ。いい香りですね。それは珍しいタバコなんですか？
軽眼だな。これはかつてウォールマリアで作られておったものでな。今でも吸えるのはわしくらいのもんだ。良いものは皆失われていく。
あなたがケンパーボルツを殺したんですね。
ん？バカを言っちゃいかん。何を根拠に？
今朝、あなたから話を聞いているとき、羊の
And it just happens like moments before.
あれはケンパーからのものだった。違いますか？今すぐ娘を返す。
Imagine ransoming your own girlfriend back to her dad. Like, poor Carly.
それを受けてあなたはケンパーの家に行き、酒を飲み。
I hope Carly lives a good life, free from all those that are manipulating her for their own gain.
なかなか面白い話だった。
ケンパーの家の灰皿にこれが。あなたしか吸えないものなんでしょう。もし憲兵団が本格的に捜査を始めれば、結果は明白かと思いますが。
Is she telling them this so she can have him in her pocket?
あれは事故だった。あのクズは最初から娘を返す気などなかったんだ。あいつは私を酔わせて金を奪おうと。
そんなことはどうでもいい。それよりタバコを吸うのをやめてもらえませんか？
あんたにそんなことを指図される言われはない。ここは私の家だぞ。
今日は朝からずっとタバコと酒の匂いを嗅いでいましてね。もううんざりなんですよ。
何をそんなに苛立っとるんだね。
苛立ってなんかいません。ただ疲れてるだけです。
留置場では吸わせてもらうよ。
留置場へは行きません。
Hmm.
どうして私を助ける？
Because she has stuff to
勘違い
hide
しないでくだ
too,
さい。これは自分のためです。
and she needed his help to
なさ
hide
なければなら
Kempo.
ないことは何があろうとなさなければならないから。
うまいものを食わせてやる。
ありがとうございます。でもこの町を離れるかもしれませんので。
移動か何かかね。
Yeah, something like
東
that.
京に帰れるかもしれないんです。
じゃあ複数人が相手の場合は
一番強そうなやつを倒して戦意を奪う。
Eren.
正解だ。偉いぞアニー。
That's why she went for Eren.
なさなければならないことは何があってもなさなければならない。そのために俺たちは全力を尽くすんだ。いいな、兄。
調査報告書。失踪人カーリー・ストラットマンは3日前に恋人のケンパー・ボルツとオートへ向かったことが判明した。2人は偽造された通行許可証を持っており、検問の際には偽名を使用したと思われる。誰が許可証を偽造したのか、2人がどのような偽名を使用したのかはいずれも不明であり。あんたまさか家出娘探してるわけじゃないわよね。まあ別にどうでもいいけど、それより男に会うならこれくらいしてった方がいいんじゃないの？
That's actually really thoughtful.
絶望的よ。
Oh, for God's
シド
sake.
リス。
But still, it was really thoughtful of her to do that for Annie.
兄、俺が間違っていた。今さら許してくれとは言わない。けど、一つだけ頼みがある。この世のすべてを敵に回したっていい。この世のすべてからお前が恨まれることになっても、父さんだけはお前の味方だ。だから約束してくれ。帰ってくるって。
今日の任務、第57回壁外調査にてエレン・イエーガーの捕獲。
Ah, crazy. Crazy. Also, the parallels between her and Carly and the father daughter relationship, just the way that both daughters are compelled to do whatever they can to make their fathers happy at the expense of living their own lives. So Annie is being foisted into this mission against humanity, being forced away from her home. And I believe her dad has probably had a role in that because he's asking her to forgive him and at the same time telling her to come home. So it's almost as if he's like nominated her, like put her forward to be one of the people on this mission. And it's maybe not a choice that she wanted or would have made. So again, you have the parallel between Carly wanting to help her father reestablish what he's lost after the fall of War Maria, and also just not being able to live a life away from him, and that the one thing she asked of him, he was not to sell the drugs where they were living in Stohess, and then for him to go ahead and do that is such like a deep-rooted betrayal, because it was the one thing she asked of him after everything she has done for him in turn. And Annie just helping her to establish a life beyond her father, beyond feeling bound to him and loyal to him is is such a sweet thing for her to do, which could probably stem from her herself feeling that innate sense of loyalty, that being bound to your father and wanting to make him proud, at the expense of what she truly wants in life, which is not necessarily what she's doing now. It's not necessarily what she wants to do with her life. I thought it was a really beautiful dynamic that we see two women struggling to find their identity outside of their father's influence, and at the same time, both of them also feeling that innate sense of loyalty to their fathers. And the cool thing that keeps coming up is that you see that Annie never attacks anybody. It's always an act of protection. She never kills anyone who hasn't attacked her first, which again comes down to this whole there is something more to Annie, there is something softer to Annie than we are led to believe from her actions in series 1, because she could have killed all of those people if she had wanted to, and with justification to do so, but she didn't. She chose to allow them to escape. She chose to allow them to continue living, which she didn't need to do. So it's just really interesting to see glimpses into Annie's personality, glimpses into her character. Again, I'm hoping she comes out of this cocoon in series 3 or series 4, because it would be nice to get to see more of her and just a bit more of her background, a bit more of her history, and a bit more of her as a person outside of who she's been pretending to be. Because we know that the Annie we saw in training is not the actual Annie. She's very tender-hearted in a way. You see her quite emotional about having injured her father, and I know people are gonna be like, tender-hearted after everything she's done, but she is, because she's very soft with the people around her. Armin constantly makes comments about how he's surprised at how much she cares about people, that she gives off this impression that she doesn't care, but she actually does. She actually really does care for the people around her. So just yeah, these two OVAs were really lovely to watch, just because they give a little bit more of an indication into Annie as a character, a little bit more of a glimpse into Marco, and that it was Annie that was actually wrestling with him for the ODM gear. In their memories, they're the ones that are the main contributor to Marco's death, and that could be like that could be symbolic of their guilt, that they feel that their hand was the one directly involved in that death. Hence why Reiner sees himself as the main catalyst in his memory, and Annie sees herself as the main catalyst for Marco's death in her memory. I just thought that was quite interesting to note that neither of them pin the blame on each other. They're taking full accountability for their role in Marco's death. We've only had like little glimpses, little flashbacks, but we haven't been given enough pieces to fully put together. Again, my money is on Marco knows something that he shouldn't know, or he saw something that he shouldn't have seen, and they had to get rid of him because they saw it as the only way to protect themselves and their mission. But Marco, my boy. My boy, Marco's my baby boy, which is what like devastates me, because it's like it didn't need to happen. I don't feel like I have too much to say because this was all quite contained. Whereas Levi's OVA, there was a lot in terms of class dynamic, there was a lot in terms of how the wisdom that he inherits from Erwin at the loss of his comrades is also the same wisdom that he passes on to Eren. So there's a lot of parallels. Whereas this seems to be almost like a self-contained story. Yes, it provides more development into Annie as a character, and it provides some glimpses into Marco's death that's been touched on in season 2. But the story again itself is contained. It has a conclusion. So this was just what she was doing prior to heading out on the 57th expedition to target Eren. And then obviously there was the comment by her dad of, you know, if you're attacking multiple people, who do you go for? The strongest, which is Eren, because he was humanity's chance of actually fighting back against them. And also the way that Annie is quite soft in her interactions with humanity, you know, setting that guy's shoulder, giving the dying man a cigarette, his last cigarette, feeding the cat, actually wanting to help Hitch by taking on this mission, even though Hitch was more jesting with her. She didn't quite understand it. And then Hitch giving her that gift in return, which she didn't have to do, even though she was quite like insulting in the letter, but it was still something she didn't have to do. And it's just those little interactions where you can see how Annie's begin to come to care for humanity in the same way that Reiner and Bertold have come to care for humanity. They've become softened to the world around them because they're actually beginning to like humans in a way, and it contradicts what they've been taught and what they've been trained, which causes the psychological stress that they both undergo. So Annie struggling to forget about what happened to Marco and the guilt that she feels from that, and how it haunts her dreams, so she doesn't rest peacefully or at ease, because how can she? You know, she's tormented by that, because if she truly saw Marco as the enemy, if she truly saw him as a means to an end, she would not feel guilt. She would not be tortured by that instance, and the same way that Reiner's also tortured by that instance. Then you have Reiner in episode 9 struggling with defining himself as a warrior. He keeps being torn between being a warrior and being a soldier, because it's hard for him to forget the connections that he has made with people and how he's come to care for the people around him. And again, in episode 11 of season 2, Bertold confirming to Jean and Connie that it wasn't pretend, it wasn't them faking, they genuinely did care for them. Those connections that they made and that relationship that they built, yes, it was technically built on a lie, but the emotions there were real. That was genuinely how they felt. And just my poor babies, my poor babies. I just, that's the one thing that keeps coming to me, is that they're all kids, and it's just so tragic and so sad that these kids are being foisted into this on both sides. And oh, it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart, it really does. It was nice to kind of get some more insight into what Annie was doing prior to fighting Erin, but also Reiner's letter to her that she folded up in that weird pattern, which again, I think was him coding a message in, and that would give her an indication of where she needed to strike from. We know that Reiner gave her the information that he was given, and obviously it wasn't the correct information, but that's where Annie struck from. So that was probably the letter that contained that information for her to prepare for that expedition, which was kind of cool, because now we actually understand how she knew this was going on. We didn't get it confirmed as to how she knew A, about the expedition, and B, where to strike from. So she struck from where Reiner believed Erin's position to be, because that was what he was told. So that was cool. And then like the weird little pattern as well. So that was cool. I think that's all I have to say for part 1 and part 2 of Lost Girls. If you enjoy these types of reacts, please consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment below to help boost this video into the algorithm. And until next episode, bye!